Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's been a minute since we've been live. I've been on the road for 30 days. Aaron was doing some traveling. We were both in Mount Shasta for a while. Then I went to Montana, then up to Banff, Canada. Now I'm back, and it's been quite the journey. And I'm just going to double check, make sure that we're actually live. Can you guys see me on your end? Um, yes, we're live. Okay, perfect.
Yep, we're live.
And so let me minimize that. Let me get this cleared up so I can see. Okay. Anyway, so it's been a minute. We're back, guys. Sorry we've been on the road. I know we've had a few uploads that were kind of, we re-uploaded our documentary, and then Aaron did a great job condensing the Johann Fritz part one and part two together, which actually a lot of people enjoyed because not many people knew his testimony, and it's mind blowing actually. If you haven't caught it, it's a great SSP testimony. It's our most recent upload, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. Um, well, there's a lot of stuff to cover tonight, but before we get into that, I want to make a few announcements. For one, our Hawaii retreat slash conference is coming up April 20th through the 24th in 2026 on the Big Island, Kona, Hawaii. We're very excited about that. You can find all the information at journeytotruth.online. By this time next week, we should have all of the website updated, all the information updated, including a solidified lineup of speakers and more details. So if you want to grab a ticket, come hang out with us. There are very limited tickets. I think there might be like 50, maybe 60 tickets left. That's it. If you guys are want to join us, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be going on some ocean adventures with some dolphins and whales, visiting some sacred sites, and having some amazing presenters as well. Also, if you're in the Sedona area, August 29th and 30th, Devara Thunderbeat is hosting a conference, and she kindly asked me to speak. It's only a 30-minute slot after launch on the first day, but there was somebody that canceled, so I'm going to be just doing a quick short presentation, and we're going to be hanging out. I think Alexis and Jace will be there. Lily Nova will be there too. So if you guys want to come hang out, grab a ticket. I didn't put that link below. What's the name of the actual conference, Alexis? Do you know?
Cosmic Awakening, I think.
Cosmic Awakening. Yeah. So if you're in the Sedona area, come out and hang out with us. That's at Alexis. Where's it at?
The Center for Christ Consciousness, I think they're hosting it at.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So it's at the Center for Christ Consciousness, and yeah, tickets are available on the website, and we'll put that link below. And then also, I just wanted to announce that Lily Nova has a Sedona retreat coming up in October, and there's a few spaces available. If anybody's interested in coming out to Sedona for a retreat, October is the best time of year to come out here. Her retreats are amazing. And I think you can just go to lilynovastarseed.com and purchase a ticket and come hang out. It's a fantastic time of year to be here. So, with that out of the way, today we are joined by Alexis from Ascension Diaries, and we're going to be covering some current events. And we thought we'd bring in a feminine perspective. Alexis has kind of been tapping into some really interesting stuff surrounding the current events on a much deeper level, a higher perspective as usual. She typically covers, solar weather and even astrology updates, I guess you could say. And she kind of ties that into what's happening currently. So I think it's a beautiful, it's just a fresh angle. That a step away from the strictly political approach and the surface level meaning of this stuff, and we can see what this actually looks like from a higher perspective. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But Alexis, I will let you briefly introduce yourself for people who don't know you, and maybe you can kind of give us a feel for what you've been seeing collectively right now.
Sure. So I am very actively posting every day on my blog called Ascension Diaries, a culmination of all of the activities that are happening that I'm gathering across all the platforms and from our group chats, from multiple friends of mine who are also dreaming actively and tapping in regularly, watching up to the second and getting premonitions about what's happening next on the world stage and what's happening behind the scenes. And this is all to attune everyone's psychic skills and their intuitive abilities and clean out their bodies. So that's why the space weather or the solar weather kind of initiates it all. And then we track and see kind of the outcome of what the solar weather is doing. So lately, especially with the solar flares, Trump has been going on and doing public announcements and saying some pretty powerful things in alignment at the same time as solar flares, which has been kind of the hope of the study, I want to say, that I've been doing is seeing what's going to be happening right when a solar flare is happening on the world stage. So that's lining up really nicely. The divine masculine in general with the solar energy, and then the divine feminine with the earth and moon energy, I would say, kind of commingling. And what are they talking about right now? There's been a nice big shift, like since the meetup in Alaska, a lot of us were preparing for that. And now tomorrow, Monday, they're going to be doing again with the European and NATO and Ukrainian and Russian and American, representatives and whatever else they're all going to be talking about. That's all happening tomorrow. So I'm glad we're doing this video today to cover what just happened in Alaska with Melania and her potential connection with all this, and kind of her, I want to say, unveiling her mystery a little bit, or like the divine feminine in a way is a bit more subtle. Like she's not online talking all the time, posting all the time. So when she does talk, it's very important in my opinion. So it's been really exciting the last few days. So much stuff overlapping. So we have the slides to organize us, which is great. I needed the slides too. So I'm grateful you did that. And yeah, nice to see you guys. If you haven't seen me before, you can follow me on YouTube or Instagram. That's where I'm at most of the time. Facebook, wherever you're at online, you can follow me, Ascension Diaries. And I'll just keep sharing all this crazy stuff. So we're all having fun watching the like finale. It's the finale in a lot of ways too. So we're excited. I'm grateful. We've been waiting a long time, been posting a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you also
Yeah.
mentioned, I think, didn't some announcement or something happen specifically at the end of Mercury retrograde, which I think you found interesting. And like everything astrologically, it's timed astrologically, right? And like, what's the quote? Billionaires don't use astrology, or millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. So everything they did do is very strategic with these alignments.
Yeah. We didn't get taught astrology growing up because we're not supposed to be in that class of people making any money, like understanding what's going on. We're
They
just
don't
supposed to
want,
be like workers. Yeah.
right. They don't want us to know. Right.
No.
Right. So,
Right.
okay. Also, yeah, there's a number of things happening that we can cover. Let me share my screen. There was something else I was gonna chime in on or say, but I guess we'll just start the slideshow. And if you guys want to jump in at any time. So what we'll do, I kind of threw together some slides. Basically, I'll just share the screen. We'll go through the slides and we can just discuss each slide. There's 30 slides total. And Aaron, you just recently sent me stuff that if you want to just chime in with any of that,
Yeah,
we can.
for
I
sure.
didn't have time to add it because it was just like 2 minutes ago. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't really expect, but
Uh,
yeah, we could talk about
But
it.
okay, let me share my screen here and then we'll get started. Okay. Actually, let me open up the slideshow first. And then yeah, so there's also wasn't there like like a recent flood in Alaska too, Alexis, or something along those lines?
Yeah, good memory. I forgot about that part where this water loosened up from underneath like an ice sheet over there, and they just got a bunch of water coming in. It could have flooded Anchorage, but it didn't. They were able to move the water, I assume, responsibly. But yeah, I forgot about that.
Right, yeah, there's like a glacier break or something, and they were worried about the capital flooding. So there's a lot that came up for me personally surrounding Alaska. So once we get to that part, we can talk about it more. But let's just dive in. Let me share my screen, and we will um, get going here. Share screen. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Holy shit. So this is clandestine from X. So, a few, I don't know how many days ago now, Trump announced the federal takeover of the DC police, but it was much, much deeper than that, much deeper. Okay, so the White House, I'm just going to read this tweet because it just does a great job summarizing, then we'll get into this. So the White House just sent a letter to the Smithsonian notifying them that there will be a comprehensive internal review of their entire operation to include inspection of their collections. This comes the day after Trump just took federal control of DC, took control of Metropolitan Police for 30 days, and deployed the National Guard to DC. The Smithsonian museums have an infamous underground tunnel system connecting a vast network of museums underneath the National Mall. Yeah, I'm going full tinfoil hat. Trump just deployed the National Guard to DC the next day. He says he's going to search the Smithsonian tunnels. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but my nonsenses are tingling. So this is really interesting, and a lot of people, um, well, I gotta figure out how to change the slide on this new computer here. Sorry, guys. Okay, give me a second.
Is not the right arrow?
No, it's not. It's a brand new computer. So the right arrow just brought up this little sidebar menu that I don't know what to do with.
It was the way that I noticed the mainstream media, some of the articles, they worded that Trump was taking control or taking over the Smithsonian in a way that it was so negative or weird and bad. And I just laughed. I was like, I hope no one's buying that, but they probably did, but it was pretty desperate.
Okay, I figured it
Right.
out.
They're trying to spin everything as bad because that's what, it's bad for them, so they need you to believe it's bad.
Right, right.
That's simplify.
Okay, so absolutely. And then this is also interesting too. So Trump takes control. Uh, Trump of the Trump takes federal control of the DC police for 30 days, deploys the National Guard to secure DC. Secretary of Defense has unnamed specialized military units on standby, which I found interesting because to me this is like a draining of the swamp. This is okay, yeah, they're talking about cleaning up the homelessness and all this stuff and the crime in DC, but I think that's the surface level explanation. I think that there's a lot of cleanup happening behind the scenes that has been keeping DC corrupt. And we'll read something that Dr. Sala actually posted the other day too, which I think is spot on. Um, but I just found it interesting that they have specialized military units on standby. And then he says that it'll only take 30 days if you read this. This comes after the day um, Trump took control of the Metropolitan Police for 30 days. And it's interesting. Q drop says done in 30, house cleaning, White House secured, final stage. And everybody's like, is this the like 30-day cleanup window? What does this mean? Obviously, there's a lot of Q haters, but every day, I mean, virtually every day, multiple times a day, these deltas keep lining up and you just can't ignore it anymore. If you choose to ignore it,
Yep.
then I don't even, I mean, that's fine. There's plenty of narratives out there for everyone to buy into. And if they choose like a different narrative to believe in and different propaganda, that's fine. And not saying that this is true or right, but I don't believe in coincidence, and I think there's really something to this. Did you
Future
guys have
future
anything?
proves future proves past. That goes for the entire Q operation. At some point, it's going to be common knowledge, and all these Q haters and all these people that think it's either nothing or that it's a part of the deep state doing a psyop or whatever that. I mean, it's going to be common knowledge, and probably the very near future, because we're at the end game. Everything to me is pointing to like we're at the end game for a lot of stuff right now.
Right,
Things are going to start happening really quickly, as we're
right.
already.
All right, so yeah, this person just says observe the timeline, and he breaks it down. This means Trump will have access to the Smithsonian tunnels. So he just happens to have a military presence and full control of DC while this happens. These tunnels could be used to mask the movement of troops, perps, equipment, etc. I find the timing of Trump conducting a comprehensive internal review of the Smithsonian museums to be a little suspicious, to say the least. So we know there's a cleanup happening. Um, Alexis, have you gotten any insight on that cleanup in particular? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it was very exciting. The Smithsonian Museum and, well, I would say connection to the Smithsonian, but in the recent California fires, there was also that museum, also the Getty lit on fire a little bit in the courtyard, and that was a signal to me that they were potentially moving through and clearing that area at last. And I can only assume that those places are connected. I don't know if they are, but part of me is just like, oh yeah, they're connected. And I'm feeling the connections that are underground or whatever between the Smithsonian and DC, between whoever knows all these other networks of places, potentially also the Grand Canyon, which is also on fire. So potentially all the places that are related to the Smithsonian cleanup are also on fire right now.
Huh, what a coincidence.
Maybe that's a good way to figure out where they're coming in and out of these places and what has been operating. But the the depth of it, even all the way to the Vatican, like in the top three like evil controlled cities, the Vatican, DC, and what was the third one?
London.
London.
Right. So are they having fires right now? I don't know if I've clocked that, but nearby they are for sure, and in Spain and so on. But anyways, the fires is a part for sure. And then specifically that location, it's connected to the owl symbology for sure with the actual setup in DC where you see where the National Mall is and everything. It's connected to the owls. And I think the benevolent, you know, archetype of owls has been coming in a lot lately too, to kind of counteract or maybe be freed from the dark magic owl crap. And I'm also getting that about elephants. The Smithsonian Museum just recently posted, right after the takeover, they posted a video that highlighted elephants in the Elephant Day. So I think that was another code also about the, I want to say, the release of these curses on these items that are held in the Smithsonian. And then again, we had that, you know, an exchanging of items. Who knows that what they may have grabbed out of the Smithsonian to give to Russia in exchange for what they received also, like who's getting their stuff back? I think so many people might be eventually at least getting the curses or whatever's that is being held over them maybe in these areas. That's what I get.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take. And we'll get into this
Yeah.
to the Smithsonian a little bit, but we know that they've been, hiding giant bones and a number of other things and artifacts and just our history in general. And I find it interesting that the media is trying to say that Trump is trying to rewrite history when it's actually the deep state that rewrote history already. It's just
The-
classic
right,
projection.
right. The people that have been rewriting history
Right.
are claiming one guy that is taking them out is trying to right. Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
projection. Everything they accuse Trump or accuse who's their enemy, it's the thing that they're guilty of. They constantly are doing this all
Right.
the time.
Right. So I'm going to read, this is from Dr. Saw. I'm going to read the first part, and then Aaron, you're going to have to read the second part on the right because my Zoom window is blocking it and my cursor, I can't find my cursor. It's not showing up. This is kind of a mess right now. But um, Dr. Saw said this 5 days ago, and I find this very interesting. In his August 11th press briefing, President Trump said, "I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor and worse. This is Liberation Day in DC, and we're going to take our capital back." His words carry far more significance than the public intent to remove squalor and gang violence in the nation's capital. There is a hidden intent in his press briefing to liberate Washington, D.C. from the satanic forces that have run it since its establishment. It is an open secret that Washington, D.C. was designed by Freemasons to form an inverted pentagram so it would become the occult center for controlling the nation and the planet. The original intent was that Washington, D.C. would become the pristine capital of a new Atlantis that would be the bastion of progress and innovation. However, dark forces infiltrated American Freemasonry and ensured that one element of the pentagram was left open to form a broken pentagram, thereby signifying a Faustian bargain with the devil, uh, Mephi,
Mephistopheles slash
Mephistopheles,
Satan.
Satan. And then,
Mephistopheles, sorry.
okay.
Mephistopheles.
Do you want to read that second part, Aaron, on
Sure.
the right? Can you? Actually, I have it right here. Um, I can continue reading, actually.
Okay.
So, over the subsequent decades, Washington, D.C. has evolved into the epicenter of SAR ceremonies, satanic ritual abuse ceremonies, occult activities, underground tunnels and bases, etc., that have allowed satanic forces working in a hierarchical structure with negative extraterrestrials at the apex to pervert America from the original intent of its founders. The dream of a new Atlantis became the nightmare of an American imperialism. Now the time has come to clean it all up. Positive extraterrestrial forces are working with Trump administration and an Earth alliance to clean out Washington, D.C. of its satanic controllers, negative ET influence, and underground power bases. This is essential for the planet to move into a new era where America returns to the original intent of a new Atlantis that helps humanity and we become welcome members of the galactic community. So there's a video that explains it, What on Earth, on YouTube, a secret Masonic code in Washington, D.C. If you guys want to go check that out. But what are your thoughts, Alexis, that he's calling it New Atlantis?
Well, it's interesting too because some of the symbology that was coming up during this time was because of the planetary alignment also. All six planets plus two more that we can see with a telescope were aligning in the sky. So that's a common thing that does happen, but there's a lot of lore around it, and it might be connected to the Titans as well. So there's been this, they're trying to align all these ley lines, they're trying to release these forces of nature against humanity. And I think that's what Atlantis was doing also. There's many people back in the day who remember Atlantis being an involuntary place where you were basically slaves in a lot of ways and forced to do certain things. And so it was cleared out because of that. But there is this need and this desire that we have to remain like divine sovereign beings in a way to become and actually actualize as a society and not enslave each other. And so that would be the new Atlantis, in my opinion, for sure. And there's a lot of good that we can do. We are builders. I think we are a builder race. We can build all these beautiful places and these atmospheres, but there's just been such an infiltration with everything, literally
Right.
to try and stop that from happening. So we've had to become wise to all of those infiltrations. And now we're rebuilding, which is taking a while, potentially like 200, like 4,000 years, or I don't even know how long it's been since the
Right.
last flood or whatever, but it's fascinating because there's a lot of again there's resistance where people are like, we don't want anything that Trump touches basically. And so anything that he's going to build in this administration is going to be venomously opposed. So it's hard to build beautiful places when there's that kind of polarity. So I'm curious about that and like how he's going to keep winning people over. But if they keep undoing all of these grids that were put in like that, like the pentagram here, if they keep reversing those grids and fixing them up, then people will just naturally become less bound and tethered and less cursed and less
Yeah.
angry. They'll genuinely, their own genetic structure in their bodies and their auras will begin repairing and their energies will flow properly. They aren't going to be siphoned at random times. Like the chaos and confusion is just going to go down exponentially. And that's what we're all trying to do once you become awake to it. It's like, what can you do to improve the grid? How can you fix it? How can you improve it? Because it helps just environmentally. It's just good to lift everyone
Right.
up. Like everyone who's even mad, you should just give them a plant because the more oxygen in their house, they're going to think a little bit better. Like it's going to be a little bit better. So I'm grateful that I'm watching this happen. But one note on this was right before the meeting in Alaska, there was an earthquake in Turkey that also looked like that it might have been an underground pentagram or pentagon underground, just the way that the actual land was shaped. And I was getting a bunch of information about that the day before, a couple days before, about 9/11 and the Pentagon and the story about how that was, you know, messed up and how that was to terrify people and all this, like the ritual.
Right.
And they need to basically reveal the ritual and what they did so people can get over it and they can fix the travel, the borders, all these grids and stuff that and the rules that they made. So I think that's on the list. And I think there's other star forts and pentagrams and stuff all over the earth that need to be reset. And I'm watching it happen. So especially for some reason, the last, with the DC and everything, it was all about pentagons and that
Right.
particular magic that I noticed and the Twin Towers.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just do a quick side quest here and ask you guys both a question. To the people that are out there claiming that Trump is, the whole Epstein list thing, and Trump is actively trying to cover up the pedophile ring and just suppress the list from coming out and all that stuff. So what's your opinion on what's actually happening there? Because a lot of people are very angry about that. To me, it's much more involved. It's not as black and white as people want to believe on the surface. And it's a global network, and it's not just some little list on Epstein Island. This goes much deeper, and it involves off-world entities even.
Mhm.
galactic slave trade, interdimensional politics, which is something people don't consider. This is so much more vast than just a simple, Cash Patel or Pam Bondi releasing this Epstein list. But when people are thinking on those limited levels and looking at it through that lens, they're going to get very angry and they're going to see a completely different world than somebody who has plants in their home and is getting out in nature and actually looking at this from a higher perspective and just coming at it from using wisdom and like understanding that this is obviously the better option of the two choices. And obviously, it's not going to go like we all want it to. There isn't going to be one perfect person that comes in. There's an order of operations. And I think that the people who have lost patience, I understand that. But if you can find a way to ground yourself and go travel and go see the world and understand that things really are changing and get off of the computer and stop living your life through the screen, you're going to see something completely different than what is just being constantly pumped through your algorithm every day. So what do you guys think about the Epstein thing? I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah.
Or- Alexis?
Yes. Um, yes. The biggest problem, I think, with the lists or whatever, all those lists and that kind of, what would you call that, intelligence that they were gathering on each other, it's also proof of rituals and their receipts as well of like, you did these rituals, you get to do this. Like it's like they've kept receipts for so many different reasons. And there's like a heartlessness to it. It's very itemized and it's very mental because they've had to turn off their hearts to do these rituals. And what do I want to say? It's so bad, like the footage and like what they were doing. It was like the rituals designed to be so bad that even if you learn about it, you're also equally traumatized. So it's hard to even get this information anywhere with humans because it's designed to traumatize them. So I
Right.
think that's why also the AI models have come out and been released to the public more too, because I think those are what are helping them actually comb through all of this stuff and find potential survivors and so on. But most of them haven't survived. Like that's a part of the ritual is that you don't survive the ritual most of the time. And people who do, whistleblowers, people are talking about it and have been for decades and forever, like pretty much, I don't know, maybe at least since they set off the nuclear bombs and stuff, when the portals kind of got worse and more crap started coming in, like getting really bad. These, yeah, this footage and all this stuff is not meant to liberate us, in my opinion. It's meant to further traumatize us as kind of like a catch 22. I don't know what you would call it. It's like
Sure.
a whammy. It's not worth it as long, but we can try and find survivors. So I think that's what they're focusing on. I've been listening to Pam and Cash when they do talk about it, and you can tell, they are traumatized. I can feel it, and I can feel that they're trying, and they have like squeaked out a few words of explanations, but everybody who's working on this is more human. So they are feeling and they are trying to explain themselves, but it's not robotically being explained to all of us, in my opinion. And also then the media isn't quoting them or helping people, grab the good bits, clip them properly, in my opinion, either. So they're real efforts I'm seeing, but it's being shoved away with the algorithms, and I can see their pain, all of them. And I know this is just a crazy knot they're trying to understand and undo of magic, all these
Right.
lost souls and everything. So all the grid working you guys do to the sacred sites and graveyards and everything, your past lineages, everybody, just that is the cleanup that's the most effective I've found to kind of help all these, wandering souls and these testimonies get out. That's my input.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I couldn't agree more about the footage. I mean, sometimes even when we have guests on that share some of this stuff, like we're very careful. And nowadays, like early on, we kind of would just go anywhere with it, but now we kind of like we hold back a little bit because we don't want to re-traumatize our audience. We want to teach them about it, but don't want to traumatize them. Because at some point, the details, like if you really want to know the details, you can go find them. But
Yes.
as long as you understand that it's happening, the details aren't necessarily necessary because it could actually have the opposite effect. So this is just an example of Mockingbird Media. DC violent crime hit a 30-year low last year. This year, it's down an additional 26%. This illegal power grab has absolutely nothing to do with crime. So basically, the Mockingbird media came out on Twitter and mainstream saying that this is like an illegal power grab to take over DC. DC's crime has been the lowest it's ever been. There's no reason that he needs to do this, which is more evidence to me that they're scared, they're threatened by what he's doing, and that he's cleaning up the swamp. I mean,
So
I'm not going to read all these, but
no, well, it's all the same thing. It's a copy and
yeah,
paste. Okay, so I don't know those of you who know Chase Hughes. Um, he's been around the last couple of years on a lot on YouTube and Joe Rogan and other shows. He's basically an expert on psyops, psychological operations, and he's a really good resource to really dig into the psychological games and war that these people play, and how to spot a psyop and how to not be affected by psyop and all that kind of stuff. I highly recommend Chase Hughes. Go check him out. Anyways, he talks about this all the time, where he's like, anytime you see something, any message put out there that is copy and pasted, meaning you're seeing basically almost word for word, or at least all the same keywords used by all of the mainstream media, all the politicians that are under the deep state, working for the deep state, all the celebrities, like everything, all at the exact same time, saying the exact same thing. He's like 100% that is a psyop every single time. Because of course, like why? How would that be an organic thing, right?
right,
Even if you want to argue if it's true, well, it's still not an organic. It's still like they're all being handed a script and saying, you have to say this script. You have to say that. Like that's
right.
not something that naturally happens. Human beings don't all naturally say the exact same thing, the exact same keywords, like word for word at the
Unless,
exact same time. That doesn't
right,
ever, 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 ever happen, right? That is a
unless,
script
yeah,
they're
unless
handed.
it's a script or all these people are hooked up to the Borg or some sort of mind control.
Either way, probably
Yeah,
both, honestly,
right.
probably
And
both,
they're
right?
like being like voice of God technology, just being pumped the same thing
Right.
through their head. I mean, it is that
Right.
sophisticated.
And you know these people, they work on the occult level, right? It's all black magic. So the words that even they use, I think, are specifically chosen for like the spells and you know, how that affects people psychologically and emotionally, right? Number
Right.
two, um, I think, it's funny because they're all talking about why is Trump doing this? Crime's down so much in DC. Oh my God. It's like, you know how these people work. They manipulate, right? So you know they knew this was coming. Of course they knew this was coming. So they probably intentionally did everything they could to make crime go down over the last couple of years. So then they could throw it whenever this inevitably happened, which they knew, they could throw it in Trump's face and try to get everyone to turn against him. He's like, look, Trump's doing this. He's being a dictator. Crimes down that we did because we knew this was coming, right? That's how they
Right.
operate.
Yeah, that's really interesting that they intentionally would lower the crime I mean, it is that
Seriously.
thought out. It
That
is
was
Yeah.
that thought.
Why
Right.
wouldn't they?
Their
Okay.
complaints don't make me feel bad. Like when people are in distress, I feel it, but their complaints, it's always just like, it's
Right.
nice to ignore it's not nice, but it's bizarre, but it's so natural to ignore their complaints about a lot of this, which has been nice.
Because what are the chances? DC's had a massive crime. It's been bad for a really, really long time, right?
Yeah, I don't want to
And then
go
you're
there.
gonna tell me, oh, it just so happens, it's a coincidence that right before Trump gets back in office and does and working with the alliance, of course, does this massive cleanup, is just at the exact time that crime. And even if that's true, they could just be saying that, right? Of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the exact time that crime is down. Just what a coincidence. No.
Observe the timeline. Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, this is just basically the letter to the Smithsonian requesting an internal review. That's all this is. I just wanted to put that in there because, oops. So this actually we included in our documentary. Aaron found this, and this is just proof that the Smithsonian, in fact, is covering stuff up for anyone who wants to say that's a conspiracy theory. So John Wesley Powell was the writer of the first, or he created the Bureau of Ethnology, and this is their first annual report in 1879. And within that first report, it literally says, let me see if I have that here. I can read it better. That stupid window on my screen. Can you read that, Aaron?
Yeah,
Read it from the willful director part.
the willful. Oh, okay. Willful director of the Smithsonian Institution's Bureau of Ethnology laid down the law for all professional archaeologists from the late 19th century to the present. Hence, it will be seen that it is illegitimate to use any pictographic matter of a date anterior to the discovery of the continent by Columbus for historic purposes.
Right.
We
And
talked
then,
about this in our Cahokia documentary. I actually
right.
talked about it specifically.
Yeah. So basically, anything anterior to the discovery of Columbus will be considered illegitimate. And then he says it says he insisted that the Americas had been hermetically sealed off from the rest of the outside world by impassable oceanic barriers until 1492. So this was in their very first report in 1879, and it literally says that any new discovery will be considered illegitimate. So
No matter
anything that
what.
they've
No matter
anything,
what they
right,
discover, they're just saying no matter how it proves anything, we're gonna just call it illegitimate, and that's that. That's literally
right.
what.
So anything that would change our history or that would prove that an advanced civilization existed here before 1492 is squashed. And they've been actively hiding the evidence for years. Trump knows that. Everybody in that administration knows. That's why the Smithsonian is under internal review. And if anything does come from it, we will. I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like, but if everything was released, history would quite literally be written, but it would be restored more than rewritten.
Yep, exactly.
Exciting. I want all that stuff back. I want to talk about it. I want to learn
Right.
about it.
Yeah. So
Illegitimate
any
is interesting wording too, because that makes me think it's like illegitimate children of the crown, or like, you know, the United
Yeah,
States got taken over and everything before that's not proper or whatever. Anyways,
right. Yeah. So
right.
anyway, if anybody wanted proof, you can go read the uh, the 1879 Bureau of Ethnology, where it's all written down and it's worded in there in fine print. If you want to read it, it's a long report. So not no one's going to go back and dig that out and read through it all, right? But this here is from a book that kind of summarizes it. Um, and then, of course, this is clandestine again on Twitter saying the Dems, MSM, mainstream media, are evil. While Trump is busy bringing peace around the globe, they are trying to belittle these accomplishments and smear the guy saving countless lives. They truly are the enemy within. Seeing peace makes them sick because they profit off of war, which we know that, right? But this is um, very interesting. This is Alaska, Alexis. Um, I saw this on your Instagram, but this is a statement that Trump made. A great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with President Vladimir Putin of Russia went very well, as did a late night phone call with the President Zelensky of Ukraine and various European leaders, including the highly respected Secretary General of NATO. It was determined by all that the best way to end a horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement which would end the war, not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. President Zelensky will be coming to DC, the Oval Office, on Monday afternoon. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially millions of people's lives will be saved. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Did you want to add anything to that, Alexis? He looked
I'm
like,
excited. Like tomorrow is going to be crazy, and I'm glad they're doing it in DC. That makes sense.
right. And then for all the Q people out there, this is a Q drop that literally says POTUS meeting Putin on 11/11. Now, what are the odds of that? And if you can see the timestamp, whenever Fox News aired this, is 11/11. Obviously, you can say you took the screenshot at that time, whatever. But also, I find it very interesting, and I know it's a matter of perspective, but Trump and Putin look like quite literal giants compared to the people behind them. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's perspective, but it's kind of funny. And then there was a military flyover. I don't know if that was a show of
Mhm.
power, the handshake where he pulled Putin in, like, asserting dominance. It was very much of an interesting interaction, and we're going to get into what we think is actually going on in Alaska as well. So there's a bunch of conspiracy theories about Alaska. This is from January 29th, 2023. It was an article that went around about a whistleblower claiming that special forces seized deep state cloning lab in Alaska. United States Special Forces on Thursday seized an enemy cloning laboratory near Fort Yukon, Alaska, which held dozens of deep state clones. A source in General Eric M. Smith's office told Real Raw News. A lot of people have a problem with Real Raw News, but I mean, we can't you can't take anything off the table. I think everything should at least be considered at this point and left
Yeah.
on the table until proven otherwise. And here's a whole article about, what they actually did there. But potentially, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the stuff that's, in Alaska. So we have a cloning facility. This is also interesting to me too, which I think might have a lot to do with why they actually met in Alaska. Daryl James, if anybody's familiar with his testimony, his executive officer in the Navy gave him basically a Project Looking Glass timeline of our future. And he said, and Trump and the Q movement was very much a part of it. And he was told this information in 2004. And what he said was going to happen, what he was told was going to happen first was that uh, Canada was going to join the United States. So basically, we would purchase Canada. And then he said after that, Alaska was going to be returned to Russia. And then he said after that, the Mexican border was going to be pushed down to the Yucatan Peninsula where it bottlenecks, and there would be no more Americas. It was going to be one America. And then Greenland was somehow going to be included in that as well. Now, the meeting in Alaska, if all that is true, and there is other information out there to verify and that could be possibly the case, then the meeting in Alaska could be very strategic because Alaska could very well be returning to Russia. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Either of you?
Mm. Go, you
Time's
go,
up.
Alexis.
Hmm, it's
I mean,
possible.
Yeah, it's
It's
yeah,
possible.
I mean, I don't know. I think,
well, they
I
already
think
probably have a chunk of it and they're just not telling us.
that's also possible too. Yeah. So anyway, it's just something to consider. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that they were going to Alaska. Could be some sort of a negotiation there. And then also HARP is in Alaska. And interestingly enough, on June 14th, they had an open house for the first time ever, allowing people to come into the HARP facility. And HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. And you can go on their website and read all about the open house and what they showed everybody, which I find interesting. I don't know. It's almost like damage control in a way. Like, come here, guys, look and see. This is all we're doing. There's no conspiracy theory here. That's my opinion. Getting ahead of the narrative because they
Right.
know
They do
that
that a
this
lot. They do
right.
that kind of thing a lot. Yeah.
And then what else? So this old man, Ray Anderson, Aaron, you might remember him. He used to stop by my house in St. Louis.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he
He's
would
awesome.
always like he was like 90 or something. He's actually come to the Journey to Truth conferences,
Oh no
and
way.
and he
Nice.
he was the one who told me that there was a maximum security prison in Alaska that was an overflow for Gitmo for Guantanamo Bay. And so I researched it, and there is a correctional Spring Creek Correctional Center in is Alaska. Let me start that over. Spring Creek Correctional Center is an Alaskan Department of Corrections maximum security prison for men located in Seward, Alaska, United States. The prison is located approximately 125 miles south of Anchorage. The prison is located on about 328 acres of land surrounded by national parks, which I find interesting. The
Oh yeah.
prison capacity consists of over 500 inmates and 97 correctional officers. Built as a decentralized campus, of course, it's decentralized. The prison construction was completed in 1988. A large portion of the prisoner population consists of hardcore felons who committed violent crimes such as murder. The Alaska Department of Commerce, DOC,
Corrections.
Corrections, says that I just lost my place. Says that these prisoners will probably spend the rest of their life in prison. Spring Creek also houses prisoners who committed less serious crimes like assault and burglary, blah blah blah. So Ray Anderson, that man, he used to tell me he would insist. I don't know how he knew or what he was listening to, but he said this specific prison in Alaska was overflow for Gitmo. So a lot of, Hillary Clinton types might be up there, And it's also interesting that you guys see that Hillary Clinton, her clone, has come out actively supporting, openly supporting Trump now.
Yeah.
That is, I mean,
Well, it sounds like when you know the jig is up, you're trying to suck up to get a lighter, you know,
right.
you know how it
Yeah,
works.
get a lighter
Yeah.
sentence.
Yeah,
Uh,
or just
so
like anything, they're desperate. When you it's funny because like you see this with these people sometimes. It's like they go hardcore against Trump until they suddenly realize they're on the massively losing side, and then they flip. They don't just like stop talking, they flip to supporting the very person and people that they were super against
Well,
for so long.
whoever this Hillary is now, it doesn't look like the original. She's very goofy
Not
looking. That's a
even,
clone.
well, the real her,
So
I don't think has been alive for a long
yeah,
time.
so it's all a stage. It's political
It's all
theater. She's
stage.
being puppeteered, and it
Right.
is it's part of the movie. But
Right.
this is a photo of the prison. Looks fairly small, but if it's surrounded by national parks, I mean, you can almost guarantee this goes underground. And I wouldn't be surprised if the cloning facility was here. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
seriously, if you're I mean, you can only speculate, but also the Alaskan Triangle. You guys familiar with that? The Bermuda
Yep.
Triangle of Alaska. So there's a lot of things in Alaska to take note of, including the Black Pyramid, which I don't know if you guys know much about that. I actually don't know a lot about the narrative behind the Black Pyramid, other than the fact that there are tons of videos on it. And I've just recently kind of been looking into it. So if you guys know more about this Black Pyramid, you can please chime in. This man went looking for it in 2020 and went missing. There's a whole story I found on that. But do you guys, either of you, have any insight on what the Black Pyramid could be doing or is in Alaska?
No, but I want to look more into that now. No, I've heard about it, but I haven't researched it yet.
Could be that Black Rock, the Black Rock.
Black Rock? Yeah, interesting. Um,
Not cube, except it's a
Yeah,
pyramid.
so I mean, I'm sure somebody in the chat knows a lot more about it than we do, but if you do, just say something in the comments. But either way, there's a lot of mystery in Alaska. There's a lot of mystery everywhere, but I'm just trying to figure out why Alaska, and I was just kind of getting downloads all day and putting slides together. Like there's just a lot happening in that region. So,
Right.
uh,
Well, what I've noticed is because you know, they do a lot in areas that are very three things: secluded, sparsely populated, and lots of ice and snow and just very cold. Not very hospitable, right? So what's that? Antarctica, Alaska, Greenland.
right.
Guess what? Those are the three places we've heard that there's a lot of stuff going on secretly, right?
Yeah,
There's a reason they choose places like that for doing stuff like that, right?
right. Okay, what's next? Oh, this is the citizens fear Alaskan capital could be swallowed underwater following a major glacier outburst, which we talked about at the beginning. So there was major flooding there, and they were worried that the capital was going to be swallowed. So, I mean, is this weather manipulation? Were they trying to flood out some tunnels or something? Is this more of that, or is this a natural occurrence? We can only speculate, but it just happened to be this major flooding right around the same time this peace deal happens in Alaska with Putin. So,
And when it was flooding over in Scotland, where Trump had just left, King Arthur's seat right out of the capital of Scotland was lit on fire and was just burning. And so that was like a huge beacon, I think, about, Trump's side of things with the Scottish royalty. Anyways.
interesting. Okay, so now we're getting into the reason Alexis is really here today to get to give us the download about this Emerald Ring and stuff. But I don't know if you wanted to read this, Alexis. This is Melania's letter to Putin, and basically Melania Trump appeals to Putin over abducted Ukrainian children. Would you mind reading this?
Sure, it says, Dear President Putin, every child shares the same quiet dreams in their heart, whether born randomly into a nation's rustic countryside or a magnificent city center. They dream of love, possibility, and safety from danger. As parents, it is our duty to nurture the next generation's hope. As leaders, the responsibility to sustain our children extends beyond the comfort of a few. Undeniably, we must strive to paint a dignity-filled world for all, so that every soul may wake to peace, and so that the future itself is perfectly guarded. A simple yet profound concept, Mr. Putin, as I'm sure you agree, is that each generation's descendants begin their lives with a purity, an innocence which stands above geography, government, and ideology. Yet in today's world, some children are forced to carry a quiet laughter, untouched by the darkness around them, a silent defiance against the forces that can potentially claim their future. Mr. Putin, you can single-handedly restore their melodic laughter. In protecting the innocence of these children, you will do more than serve Russia alone. You will serve humanity itself. Such a bold idea transcends all human division, and you, Mr. Putin, are fit to implement this vision with a stroke of the pen today. It is time. Sincerely, Melania Trump, I assume.
Right. Uh, her and Trump, they have very similar
They
signatures.
do, actually. Good point.
Right. So this is all happening simultaneous to everything we're talking about. Melania doesn't say much, like you said, but when she does, it's very impactful. And that takes us into the Emerald Ring. It is believed that Melania is the granddaughter of Anastasia Romanoff on the right in this bottom picture, who was spirited away just before Jacob Schiff brutally murdered Tsar of Russia, Russia's entire family. She will be gifted an emerald diamond ring by Putin. Emerald diamond ring. Was it part of her family heirloom that was savagely taken away and to be returned? So this emerald ring is very significant, I think, and this could be like a restoration of the bloodline. And there could be a lot here. So there's actually a Twitter thread that I was going to click and go through, but one of the interesting things here is that Santa Surfing says Melania is the queen of Tartaria. So the Romanov Empire was in the exact region of the supposed Tartaria, and it existed in the same time era as Tartaria. So she says Melania is the queen of Tartaria. She will be gifted an emerald diamond ring by Putin. I already read that. My takeaway is the old financial guard is done. All assets seized from the Rothschilds that had her family killed. In chess, the queen protects the king. Are we entering the Emerald City to uncover who the man behind the curtain that's been controlling the world is? This is Trump Putin summit. This Trump Putin summit will be big. So, Alexis, what was your download on this? What do you think this ring means, and how does it connect to the movie Anastasia, the Disney movie? Uh,
Yeah, I was very excited about this because I've been trying to figure out why the Disney movie was such a significant code. I couldn't quite figure it out, but it's substantial. And if you guys have ever seen it, I would recommend you watch it because I think it does describe potentially, in a way, it mirrors Melania's experience, but it's ironically about her grandmother. So it's like generationally, she's having a repeat or a mirrored experience from her grandmother that got taken and basically survived this massacre of her family. The story in Disney is that this child gets taken. She forgets that she was taken away from her family. She's in an orphanage. All she has left is a locket or, basically a piece of family jewelry from the royal family. And this locket is what she ends up reuniting with her royal grandmother with, and the locket goes to like a music box Fabergé egg, and it proves basically that their family and their long lost family, they've been looking for this kid. She's finally back. Everyone's been trying to scam the Russian family into saying they have their kid, but no, this is really her. And in this sense too, the dark magician that was doing this to their family was also battled in the movie and destroyed at last after having successfully helped kill the family and then been kind of lounging away because his soul was connected to the curse and it didn't fulfill. So he didn't kill the whole family. So he was stuck in limbo alive. And she eventually let his soul go in a different way. And that was the end of the movie. It's quite an intense movie. It was picked up by Disney, but it was originally made by Fox Studios, I guess. And this
So,
lineage important, and it was very interesting that a green was a part of it, and that symbology was already being shown in 1997. So they may have already known about this piece of jewelry, or that emeralds was a part of the royal Russian family. I don't know. I didn't check that deep. I also didn't watch anyone actually give her that ring or that emerald. I never saw footage of that actually happening, so I can't confirm it even happened. Did you? I never
no,
could.
but no, I did. I mean, I've read multiple things,
Right.
and some people said that Putin really wants to give her the ring, like he wants to. Some people say he will. It will be gifted. Like there's negotiations. Who knows what's actually happening? But so you're saying Anastasia in the movie is technically Melania is based on Melania's grandmother.
Well, yeah, like it's funny how that works. So Anastasia had this whole thing and she gets reunited, but now it seems like Anastasia's granddaughter is having that same experience and mirroring it, and she's going to be reunited with Anastasia, which is funny. But I've worked with families generationally as a medium and stuff, and this is very normal. I've seen these patterns happen in families. You'll kind of replay the same themes, but in a slightly different way. I'm doing it in my own family. Like I've watched it happen. So it's good to write books and autobiographies about your life, I think, for your grandkids, because they'll probably repeat a lot of the same themes in like a slightly different way. Could help them emotionally at least process it and maybe get through some of the trials and tribulations that caught up their grandparents. Like, genetic fortitude in a way, it helps. So I think that's what's happening there. Genetically fortifying again, they're reuniting. The family it's a benevolent family too. The ET race that it potentially is connected to could potentially be connected to Lyra, this group of beings, and the like benevolent elven beings. There's this whole thing of archetypally basically about the benevolent elven beings, and then there's the malevolent elven beings, and basically the benevolent ones need to take care of the malevolent ones. They're pretty much equally matched and can do that job in the archetypal like game that we're doing. So that's also coming in. The main star in Lyra Vega area is an emerald color. It's an emerald star. So that was also tying in. So not even just Earth history, but off planet, potentially progenitor families that came and seeded Earth and have helped look after it, I think. So it's big
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
I got
So
lots of
Yeah.
books. Yeah.
yeah, this is Melania, the great granddaughter of Anastasia Romanoff, and then so this could be very much like returning what is rightfully theirs, restoring the bloodline, basically taking the power from the crown, which we know has been happening for years. It's been like a systematic dismantling of that hierarchy, and it's really interesting. The Queen Elizabeth, Queen Lizzie finally moved on, and they broke that magic wand at her ceremony or at her funeral, which I thought was like symbolized breaking the spell. And then there was that DNA like activation ceremony she did before she died, which I don't actually know what that meant. That should be looked into further, but there's a lot of symbolism there as far as like the that bloodline, her reign had finally officially come to an end. And like that was it, it was almost like a humility ritual that they had to break that wand publicly for the first time ever, just to show the world that the spell has been broken. Um,
That was
so
great.
I'm going to go ahead and read through this. Well, I don't know if it's going to let me do it here. I might have to just, no, why won't that let me open that thread? Okay, maybe I'm not. I can do it on my phone and read through it, but it's a really fascinating thread about what's going on what from Santa Surfing. So you can't see the pictures with it, but I'm just going to read through it. So one, President Putin will gift our beautiful and royal First Lady the Emerald Ring. Two, history of the Emerald. The Romanov family refused the Rothschilds' plan to control the world. The royal Romanov family was savagely killed for going against the Rothschilds. Queen Mary bought the tiara known as Vladimir tiara, a piece from the estate of the Grand Duchess Vladimir, a member of the Romanov dynasty who managed to smuggle her jewels out of Russia during the Bolshevik Revolution. Rather than Queen Mary returning the priceless jewel back to the Romanov family, the UK monarchy family bought, kept, and flaunted it. Lizzie, Queen Elizabeth, inherited and flaunted the emerald tiara known as Vladimir tiara. Elizabeth too and Mary flaunted this tiara. For many years, the UK royal monarchy was flaunting the Vladimir tiara. Was it a sign that they controlled over the world? 3 years later, President and Melania Trump got their revenge on July 13th, 2018, the day that Lizzie had to walk behind President Trump and practically carry his golf bag if necessary, while the President Trump inspected the royal guards. July 2018. This was the moment Lizzie lost her crown and she would lose her power and precious jewels. 4. Shortly after President Trump's visit to the UK Buckingham Palace, 10-year renovations began. All priceless artwork was removed. Paintings removed from Buckingham Palace picture gallery, and it's a whole video. 5. On July 16th, 2018, just 3 days after Trump's UK visit, President and Melania Trump meet with President Putin. Their meeting was filled with graciousness and surprises. 6. Melania Trump crowned the Queen? Question mark. This wouldn't be done publicly, and the coronation wouldn't be made public as the plan for President Trump and Putin to take down the deep state was in play. President Putin gave the Trumps a soccer ball. Melania was given that soccer ball. What was in that soccer ball?
Oh,
N- Now, President Putin will be gifting Melania a beautiful emerald ring. Is this the same emerald ring that was smuggled out by the royal Romanov family? Will Melania Trump showcase this stunning heirloom and gift to the world at the White House? And would it be her way to signal to the world that she and President Trump now control the world for the good of the people? 8. And during this time, will President Trump receive a gift of surprise to expose deep state of their treason for their treasonous sale of U1 and other crimes? I'm not sure what U1 is. Um, a relevant Q post about Trump and Putin, and there's a Q post there. 9. The rightful queen and king. On July 14th, 2025, President and Melania Trump gave us a sign of their moves through comms of a 3-move checkmate, and they gave sign of Melania's role in this chess move. The queen protects the king. So that's when Melania was standing in front of Trump. 10. The Emerald Ring, symbolic or revealing the hologram behind the curtain at Emerald City that controlled the world for decades. The parallels of the Wizard of Oz in today's world. We are nearing the end of the Cabal's tyranny on this world, and this article with video in it was symbolic of what they were going to do if they kept us in slavery. And then the last one, 11. President and Melania Trump's inaugural ball and Melania's gown was filled with many messages, from dark blue hats to swords dancing. They both are revealing acts that the reign is over in DC and the world for the good of the people. Her stunning white dress with a black strap is the black strap shaped as an R. A new royal leadership will soon be revealed. The Trumps are not your typical royal leaders. They are incredibly powerful in their own way, working so hard to protect the children and the people to give the world greatness. God bless the world. So, an interesting thread there about, I mean, great research on her behalf. That's Santa surfing on Twitter. I mean, you really have to be following this stuff closely to pick up on all those subtleties and all the nuances and what's actually happening. So, did you guys have any thoughts on that?
well, that crown I'm thinking about for sure. I forgot about that crown. I want to look at it. What is it? Where is it right now? Like, what is it up to? When did it get made? Like all that stuff. I'm very curious about it. The emeralds is just crazy how important they are, clearly.
Yeah, and I think if you could just look up a picture of Queen Elizabeth with the crown, that's the crown. So,
Yeah, but like I mean right now, like where is it right now? I'm curious.
oh, I see, I see. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Where is it right now?
Doing some
O-
magic somewhere.
All right. So then these are just pictures of, so the Romanov area, if you look on the map, is precisely where Tartaria would have been on the old maps. Is this, I don't know, this little picture on the left is something, what is that from the movie?
Yeah, that's the music box that the locket or the necklace goes into and unlocks. And so the grandmother had the music box, I think, and the girl had the locket. And anyways, it was two pieces that went together to prove that they were,
I see.
united.
I see. Okay. All right. And then we're just going to finish up with some fun stuff here. Um, This is big news. Journalist Ross Coulthart reveals clues to the location of a buried UFO so massive that it cannot be moved. He said if he discloses the location, then it can be stormed like Area 51. So everybody on Twitter was going crazy, on X was going crazy trying to figure out where this was he was talking about. Some people think that it was Egypt, quite literally, like the pyramids were built over this UFO. But here, this is Skywatch Signal, and these are basically his best guesses on where it could possibly be. Pine Gap, Northern Territory, Australia. RAF Menwith Hill, North Yorkshire, UK. Woomera Test Range, South Australia. Diego Garcia, British Indian Ocean Territory. Uh, Svalbard Satellite Station, Norway, Baghdad, U.S. Embassy, Iraq, seven Antarctic treaty stations, various nations. So that's Skywatch Signal. I follow him on X. He's one of the greatest reporters, I think, right now, covering this stuff just from a neutral standpoint. But those are his best guesses on where this UFO that's so massive it had to be built over. They couldn't remove it. So I just found that interesting.
Is there really one in all those places?
No, so those are his best guesses where they could be.
I
Where
bet you
the
there's one on all those places.
Oh yeah, there could be one in each location. Yeah, kind of like the space arc narrative. I don't know, Aaron, have you seen
There's,
anything on this
I
or
mean, I'm sure
not?
there's a lot more than just one. Probably a lot of
Right.
these, but that's the
Definitely
one that
Australia though. That one pings.
he was told about one from whatever his inside sources are.
Okay.
So he's excited and tells and everyone's like, oh, but there's way more than just one, I guarantee. And then there's all these arcs we keep hearing about that are like supposedly activating right now. I remember what was that info that came out years back about the three massive ships that were found in Antarctica
Oh,
that
the
crashed,
Nina Maria the San yeah, the
named
Nina
the
Nina's
Nina,
yeah.
or that they gave them the names, the Nina Marin, Nina Pinta and Santa Maria.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it.
yes, and those are probably still there in Antarctica. There's probably lots of these that are just buried underground still in different
Yeah,
places.
it's just interesting, it's like created a huge buzz. A UFO so big they just literally had to build a base over it to conceal it. So
Hmm.
very interesting. I'm sure you can get on Google Earth like everyone has been doing and sharing pictures like, oh, it looks like this could be a massive triangle craft or whatever, blah, blah. So,
As the moon is just sitting up there.
right, right. Yeah, the
Right,
biggest.
right, literally, right.
Okay, so the other one is this three-eye atlas that allegedly this space artifact, this craft, whatever it is, that's
Mm.
supposed to reach Earth by November 4th, 5th, which is the 4th is my mom's birthday, interestingly enough. So there's a bunch of narratives surrounding this. The one I find the most interesting is that apparently it sent a message and a message was received from it. Did you guys see this? Um, so this comes from, I saw it all over X, but this is Carrie Cassidy covering it. So it sent a mysterious coded message from the interstellar object 3I Atlas stuns Chilean scientist. Confronted with an indecipherable code, they reportedly turned to AI, which translated the eerie message as, we're on our way. We've been watching you. Don't be afraid. We're going to be there soon. The coded message also indicated that the probe is already in contact with senior global leadership, communication that, for reasons unknown, has not been shared with the public. So if there's any truth to that code, then this is George Cavasi. How do you say his last name, Aaron? Um,
Um,
Cavasilis,
Cavassilis,
Cavasilis, George
Cavassilis.
Cavasilis. Anyway, he was recently on with Dr. Sala, and he claims that this is basically a Navy U.S. space program admiral ship that's returning back from a long mission. And he claims to be in contact with one of the admirals, and it's a very fascinating interview. I recommend listening to it. I know it seems out there, but what doesn't these days? So he claims that it's us, and that they're actually coming back to like basically assert dominance over the negative secret space program and kind of like take control of that, kind of like what we're doing here on Earth, clean up the swamp. It's basically the Navy's way of cleaning up the corruption within, or cleaning out what he calls the Sith Lords within the Galactic Federation and Solar Warden and all that, because he says it's all been hijacked by what he would call Sith Lords, and he's very adamant that like Sith Lords are a very real thing, people that are, working the false light, basically. Even in Star Wars, they say that they can't identify them always because they're such a trickster energy, and that's how they make their way into the Republic, right? So it's very interesting, his narrative. But if the message is true and his narrative is true, then that means that that craft is already in contact with senior global leadership, which is interesting. And then there's the other narrative that this craft is Anunnaki from Nibiru. See how David demonstrates using mathematics that this is a possible return of Marduk. They must see. So there's all these different narratives going around on what this thing could be, or it could just end up being a big nothing burger. I know, I guarantee it's going to be played as an alien invasion, a threat. They're going to make us scared of it at all costs, in my opinion, at least in the public eye. So this has been something I've been seeing a lot. We haven't covered it yet on this channel, so I figured I would just throw this in here. What are your thoughts on what this thing could be, Alexis?
Well, it's different than the stuff we've been seeing. There was a lot of comets and stuff that were coming through the last 2 years that were comets, but in my opinion, were also like these craft or these objects and stuff. They weren't being narrated that way. But this particular situation is being taken onto the youth, I want to say, and the TikTok community, which is a place I actively guard over and watch what they're doing and what they think and how they're reacting to things. And I don't know if that new information with that actual like message from AI that was translated, which is a very interesting concept in itself, but that particular message and information, I haven't seen it circulate in there, but I know they would love it, and I hope it's circulating in there because I like hearing fresh perspectives from it who have never heard a testimony like all the testimonies you guys have gathered and I've listened to, and all the testimonies I've gathered with my clientele and my family and blah, blah, blah. It's fresh. So it's interesting. And the narrative on there is that these guys are potentially these Anunnaki Atlantean people who are potentially like highly melanated, humans like you would see running around in Africa right now, or at least the last 300 years or whatever, the same kind of people. And that's the rumor that's going on right now online, and they're really running with it, a lot of them. And actually, it's interesting to see how I want to say the community of people who are melanated. And in my opinion, that's the Atlantean people, that's the remaining Atlantean people. And then there's a few other clusters that look different, like the redheaded people up in the Celtic and, Scotland, Ireland area. There's another Atlantean group, but I think the main group is actually the dark skinned people who are still running around doing everything, super strong, connected to the water, and they're activating. Like this is almost it's interesting that it's Navy and that's coming out as Navy, and that it's human and potentially our Navy, which is interesting. And how are they going to deal with that? And I'm curious if we do get a landing, like that would be incredible. If this is really a ship and they landed, it's fine. What they look like, what their DNA is like, how long have they been gone? They could be inserting information and germs even, and codes that have been super foreign to our planet maybe forever. So that's also interesting, like all these foreign objects even coming close. It's
Right.
just our little garden. Like we have to be very careful. But I'm watching how the kids are reacting, and they're optimistic about meeting potentially even a race of beings that they can relate to, the Atlanteans and stuff. So it's heartwarming and it's wholesome in a way too, I'm noticing. So I'm hoping that maybe this will keep building, and the heart space, it's going to build in the heart space, and that'll be like that beacon and that, permission slip. Like it's the heart
Right.
permission slip is being sorted out. I feel like people are warming up to the idea of honestly, even knowing their racial backgrounds, like why there's so many different groups on Earth that clearly have genetic differences and stuff. And
So,
you know,
Right.
what's interesting too is George in the interview says the cloaking technology on this craft is so sophisticated that whatever you send at it, it'll feed you what you want to see, basically. So like
okay,
it'll appear as a rock. And he said if it gets to the point where you can point a telescope at it and an isotope, it will tell you like the minerals and of the rock, the elements, the consistency of it, because it's that sophisticated, and it'll just appear as a rock. And but it'll bounce back information based on the viewer's perspective. It's a super sophisticated cloaking technology. So people might actually see different things and get different stories about it as it approaches. This is what he says. But he claims it's the U.S. Navy Jedi's Admiral lead ship, Starship, coming home. But it's very, I mean, if anybody hasn't listened to this interview, it just came out a few days ago. It's already at 50,000 views. It's 2 hours long. But in my opinion, it's absolutely fascinating. It really resonates with me. So it's a completely opposite narrative than the fear mongering that we've been seeing. So,
I've
uh,
listened to two of his previous interviews with Michael Salla, and he blows me away every time. George Cavassalis. Yeah, everything he said is pretty much has resonated with me as well. And he's kind of similar to like an Ismail Perez figure where he's the only one I basically hear saying most of this, but he's very, very confident what he's saying. He's like just talking from personal experience. He's not trying to convince you of anything. He's just telling you, hey, this is what I know. This is my experience.
and he's constantly talking
Uh,
about doing the inner work, and it's like this
yeah,
heartwarming message. And he's like, you're not going
very
to have
hard
these
based.
experiences if you're using what he calls a cerebral mind. Like he goes,
Right,
the only way you're going to perceive like any of the truth is by dropping into your heart. And he's like that. He's very adamant about like helping people understand that they need to find their heart because that's the only way that they're going to see the truth. So the eye
right,
of the heart
right.
is what he calls it. Yeah.
Right, right, and that's another thing. What reason why he resonates because he's very spiritually based and heart based
Right.
with everything, not just all about information and there's no fear in it, and it's all self empowering. It's all like a bunch of green flags, basically, because some of these people come out, I see a bunch of red flags, and that's when I pretty much stop listening.
Right.
I've only seen green flags with him. He seems very on point.
Right.
Whether 100% of what he's saying is true or not, I mean, he's not trying to convince and he's also not trying he doesn't put himself out there. Like Salah's the biggest thing he does, and he's been around a long time, and he's just now kind of doing Salah interviews. So you can tell he's not just out there trying to do this for popularity or fame or anything, or
Right.
money or anything,
Yeah.
right?
you should
So
clip this guy a couple and like post it on TikTok and stuff too, especially about the cloaking technology piece. Like that would be good to give the kids an understanding, like, hey, you might be just projecting and getting this back, but and then the heart part, like if you do your inner work, you will feel something. Like, I don't
mm,
know. I haven't seen the interview, but I'm getting ideas.
Yeah, watch it. Make some
yeah,
clips. That would be great. You should.
I I started watching it, and I only got about 7 minutes in. I need to pick that one
Yeah, it
back up.
actually, so that interview kind of takes a while to get going, but it
Mhm.
builds a good foundation. So if you stick through it, it's definitely worth the reward towards the end.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check it
And
out.
then just for fun, did you know Elon Musk claims his new jet uses anti-gravity to fly? Quantum physics powers this alien-like jet. Um, I would assume, I don't know if there's any truth to this or not, but I would assume that we're going to get some sort of rollout of like a TR-3B type of craft that's been in existence for decades. If we get any sort of reverse engineered craft revealed to the public, I believe that's what it's going to be. And maybe this can just be like a precursor to that. Either way, these type of articles are being like pumped into the collective, right? So that's planting the seeds into the consciousness. And they're preparing us for the inevitable rollout of this stuff. And I just find it very interesting. And everywhere you scroll online right now, all these new discoveries in quantum physics are being made, time travel, warp capable craft and motors and all this stuff. everything that's been out there that we've known about for decades. It's somehow miraculously in 2025 just now being discovered. And, this brings me to the Jim Goodall interview from 1995 when he was talking to the guy from Area 51 and he asked him if UFOs are real. He said, absolutely, matter of fact, I can verify that. But I can't tell you until 2025. And he said, can you expand on that? And he said, no, I can't. So, whatever that guy at Area 51 knew, they knew in 1995 that something was going to happen in 2025. What did we have happen in 2025 in January? The massive drone explosion, all these drone sightings, all these craft. I mean, and the narrative has just been building upon itself all year to where we have this literal precipice like this. We are going to literally see this craft or whatever it is in November. Everybody's waiting for it. Either way, it's in the collective consciousness now, and it's too late. There's no squeezing the toothpaste back in the tube. We're here for whatever is coming, and just don't be scared of it. That's all I can say, because the light is winning, no matter how dark it might look on the surface. There is a bright, positive future, and the more you believe in that, the more you'll see it.
Like I said, I've been kind of watching the youth and their instinctual natural reactions is intrigue, excitement, curiosity, open-heartedness, like welcoming energy, compassionate. So I was like, okay, I think this is gonna be it then, because they're called, like, it's resonating. I can see them calling it in, and it's the kids who really are in charge, in my opinion. Like when they choose, it's done. So whatever they're giving them to decide, they're choosing it, and a lot of it's over TikTok. I know it sounds crazy, but it's in the drops. Like it's it's a important place, and I'm excited. Like benevolent benevolent forces are present and allowed to like kind of continue contacting. Like I think even in this community who's maybe a bit more versed in this, maybe they've been getting a little bit more dream contact, a little bit more magic just in nature in general, just to show you that the energies are still rising and the magic is returning, as subtle as it can be sometimes. But it hasn't been as subtle. Like it's been a decent August. I'm still watching it kind of pour in, like these magical meetups that all these world leaders are doing is still unlocking magic. It's releasing curses. I'm feeling them pop off of my body. And I didn't even think that way. I didn't even think those things were on me. But when you feel them leave, it's very palpable, at least for some of us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, that's why I think it's interesting. Aaron and I can break this stuff down cerebrally all day, but to bring in like, higher perspective sometimes it's nice and the feminine aspect. So thank you for doing that. And I agree. This is much bigger than we even can really quite comprehend right now. And I think if we just kind of, stay on the sidelines and observe and let all this stuff play out and just do our part, activate, going within, activating our hearts, doing the grid work, doing the actual shadow work, we're actually helping the collective and the planet more than we even realize. Um, because we become beacons for the truth, right? And that's the most important thing right now. So we're all here on a mission, and if you don't know what it is, at least you could start there,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
Well said.
Um, all right. Well, is there anything else that either of you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
That area in Alaska, it was in the comments earlier, that is that triangle and kind of that contested territory is also mentioned was the international date line where the day changes over. So it's very important even for the narrative that we're playing for ourselves. That location, like we're pretending we have this calendar and we're trying to make the most sense of it and organize ourselves the best while we're flinging ourselves through space. So it's obviously very important as to initiating what's going to happen at the very start of every day potentially is what's happening there. So I just had to bring that up.
Yeah, that date line is very interesting to me because there was a trick trivia question that I was asked one time. What is the westernmost part of the United States? And it was, well, Alaska, because you don't think about that. I'm like Washington, you don't think about Alaska being up there, but it's also because of the international date line. It's also the most eastern side of the
I
United
was gonna
States.
say it's
Yeah,
actually
so
Oh,
it's both. Like it was a trick question. And it's actually both. It's the furthest point of each side because of that date line. So
smart.
yeah. Anyway.
And the
Alexis,
prison,
what?
sorry, just also the prison up there. That was very important. I didn't know about that prison. So that's also something I think we should all worry about. And the Alcatraz thing. I'm standing in front of San Francisco for a reason, because that's a whole other major part of what's going on too, and what needs to be liberated and fixed. So honorable mention to that. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the prison is definitely there in Alaska. Yeah, it's maximum security, and I think there's more to it than what we're told on the surface, obviously. So, and the cloning facility potentially, which I would not be surprised at all if that's really there. So, Alexis, let everyone know where they can find you and how they can follow you.
Sure. If you guys want to keep following me, I post every day
Yep.
on Meta, basically. So any of the Meta platforms, my Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. And then I have a Patreon if you're really, really committed. And I give those people like the most important, most like intense updates, I would say, that actually I think we should be praying for and maybe putting extra time and energy into. So if you want to join my prayer group or my guardian training, you can go on Patreon. Ascension Diaries, find me there. And then, yeah, I live stream like 4 or 5 hours straight sometimes on YouTube on Ascension Diaries also. So you can join in. We can talk more. It gets the conversation going. I'm always grateful to hear new perspectives. If you guys are new to the community, but you want to talk, you want to share, you can DM me and message me anytime. I'm totally open to it. We're all kind of catching everybody up and getting ready to like walk through this next stage of, I want to say, Earth, like world peace. Like we're potentially getting world peace tomorrow. Like it's potential on the menu. Like so we're it's exciting, and I'm yeah. I'm posting about it every day for the Ascension
Mhm.
Diaries. So join me if you want.
On the menu tomorrow, world peace.
Peace.
Yes.
Um, it's definitely the beginning stages of it, and there's definitely, to me, like I was talking to Aaron the other day, texting, like it's nice just to see movement finally. For so long it gets stagnant and everybody's waiting for something, right? Well, now if you're really paying attention, like there's a lot of movement and it's just one thing after the next. And a lot of it's fear propaganda too, but it's still movement. It's a catalyst and it's getting the ball rolling. So we appreciate it and we're here, to honor all sides of it. And we hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't have the links for Alexis in the description yet, but I'll put them in there after this. And if you want to come hang out with us in Hawaii next April, go to journeytotruth.online, grab a ticket. If you want to come see us in Sedona at the end of this month, August 29th and 30th, Devara Thunderbeat is hosting the Cosmic Awakening Conference. You can still grab a ticket and come hang out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have a short speaking slot there. So I think that's it. Unless Aaron, do you have any other announcements? Is there anything else we're missing?
Nope. I think that's
Uh,
that's pretty much it.
Hopewell Farm CBD. If you guys are looking to try a new CBD, we're still affiliated with them. We don't talk about them very much anymore. And I apologize, Eric and Nancy, but they have some of the best CBD. I still use it. You could save 10% off all their products with promo code Journey to Truth 10. That link is below in the description. And they have topical ointment. They do accept crypto payments and they have some great products. So go over there and check their stuff out. And the end. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I need to get to the screen where I can end this so we don't look silly here trying to end this live. Give me 1 second here.
Love
Um,
you all.
Hang on, I exited out of the
World
whole damn.
peace,
I
folks.
exited out of the whole thing. Just give me a
Golden
second.
age.
Golden Age, yeah, world peace, golden age.
Moving into the golden age. Actually, it's already here. We're not going into it. It's
We're living it. Yeah, we just
already
can't
here.
believe it. It's so
Right,
Right.
right.
Manifesting
Anyway,
right
good night, everybody. We love you. And until next time, have a great evening.